every woman in the world who resonates with this message needs to hear this message, that you can have phenomenal results in every area of your life without grinding your way to it, without clawing your way up the cliff for it. And actually, we're meant to have ease and joy. We are meant to be challenged for sure. The road to success is always an uphill climb, always, but we're not meant to struggle through it. And that's what I have been passionate about it, because there's no value in struggle. There is immense value in challenge, but there isn't any value in struggle. And so that's what I'm here to really spread the word, that you can make a different decision. And the decision can be very simple, but it is profound in its ability to just change everything in your life for the better.
You are listening to Personal Development Mastery Podcast, providing those with the desire to grow with the simple, consistent actions needed to master personal development and create the life they yearn for. I am your host, 𝘁ᗸ𝗲𝘄𝘆𝘀. A few years ago, I found myself unfulfilled and unmotivated, like I had lost my sense of purpose and my life was merely passing by. Since then, I've been on a continuous journey of personal development that has transformed every aspect of my life. Now, my mission is to inspire you to grow, stand out, and take action towards a purposeful and fulfilling life. In this podcast, I invite myself inside the minds of remarkable entrepreneurs, authors, thought leaders, spiritual teachers, people who share their journey, milestones, and learnings for you to be inspired to grow. In each episode, you will find practical action points that you can implement right now. So make sure you follow the podcast to get them as soon as they are released. In today's show, I am delighted to be joined by Allyson Chavez. Allyson, you are a prosperity and success coach for ambitious, God-centered women. You are a sought-after speaker on mindset, prosperity, universal laws, and success strategies, and you are the best-selling author of the Prosperity Approach. You are passionate about teaching women how to get phenomenal results and achieve their goals without hustle or grind. And your mission is to end the struggle and bring joy to the lives of millions of women around the globe. Allyson, welcome to the show. It's such a pleasure to speak with you today.
Oh, Agi, I am so thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me on.
It's a real pleasure. We have been trying to arrange this conversation for a long time, so it's amazing to finally have this materialize. And I'm sharing that because you are also a podcaster. So sometimes what the listener doesn't understand is that how much preparation or period of time, months and months, can go between, wanting to have a conversation and for it to actually happen. So we'll talk about today prosperity, of course, and also decisions, which is something that I think it's very important. Mm-hmm. Before we go there, I would like to start with a little bit of your background, your journey. What I usually am interested in is, that transition point that one has in their life that really steers them into another direction, which in a way leads them to where they are now. So share this with us.
Oh, I would love to. Thank you. So I've been in the online space for over 10 years now, and I built my company from the ground up, hit multiple six figures in right around 2 years. And I was in massive hustle, massive grind, pretty much terror all the time. I was in a whole lot of anxiety. I have always been in love with personal development and like mastering that, but I did not have a very strong mindset at the time. And I kept telling myself this was too big for me and I didn't actually make a difference. And what if everything fell apart? And because your reality will always match your inner thoughts and belief systems, my business after a few years started to crumble. And so what did I do? I started working harder. I started grinding more. I started hustling. And the harder I worked, the faster it fell. And we were in a financial free fall for about 2.5 years. You want to talk intense. That was really, really intense. And we landed at the bottom of that, which ended up in a Chapter 13 bankruptcy. And when I finally let the dust settle for just a minute, and I set down my beat up stick of not enoughness and that I was the world's biggest loser and I hurt my family. And why did I ever think that I could build this? Like when I finally set that aside, I had this beautiful moment of clarity. And I remember thinking, wow, I created this and I didn't mean to. Like I was trying to create the exact opposite of what actually happened. But because my thoughts were so filled with fear of failure and falling and financial devastation, that's what I got. And I thought, I wonder if I could create my way out of this. I bet I can. And that was the first time that I really started using mindset principles and universal laws really to where I was at that moment in my life. And when I made a decision, we're going to talk about the power of decision today. And I'm really, really excited about that because it's the most important thing about decision is not a decision to do something. It's a decision about something. See, I had decided all along the way, building up my company, that I wasn't enough, that I wasn't going to make a difference, that this thing was too big and too scary. Like that was an unconscious decision that I had made. And when it all settled, I was like, I can make a different decision. And what if I decided that everything always works out for me? What if I built from that foundation rather than, oh boy, I sure hope everything works out? And from that decision, I went from bankruptcy to $232,000 in 6 months. I had put on 45 pounds in a very short amount of time because I was so filled with anxiety. All I wanted to do was eat peanut M&Ms all the time. And so in that same amount of time, I dropped 45 pounds in 4 months, and it was easy and it was fast and it was effortless. I went from 6 clients to 97 clients in the same amount of time. I transformed my relationship with my husband, with my 4 children. Like everything changed. And the thing that was most amazing about it is that I was finally in ease. I was in joy. I was in flow. There was no more hustle. There was no more grind. And it was so much fun. And it was at that point that I was like, you know what? Every woman in the world who resonates with this message needs to hear this message, that you can have phenomenal results in every area of your life without grinding your way to it, without clawing your way up the cliff for it. And actually, we're meant to have ease and joy. We are meant to be challenged for sure. The road to success is always an uphill climb, always, but we're not meant to struggle through it. And that's what I have been passionate about it, because there's no value in struggle. There is immense value in challenge, but there isn't any value in struggle. And so that's what I'm here to really spread the word, that you can make a different decision. And the decision can be very simple, but it is profound in its ability to just change everything in your life for the better.
Wow, thank you for sharing it in such a way. There were many things that I picked up from this. I will start with the last thing you said about the decision. You reminded me of something that Tony Robbins says, that it's in the moments of decision that your destiny is shaped. And that is exactly the way you described your decision. There was something that I wanted to ask you. I will take you back for a moment before we come back to the decisions. When you were sharing your story, you said that at some point you set aside, when you had failed and you with your company, you set aside the self-doubt, the fears, and then you gained that clarity of that you described. Mm-hmm. How did you set aside what was the way that you managed to set aside those fears and the self-doubt and detach from them? How did that happen?
That is such a beautiful question. I think it's probably the most important question that you could ask me. I finally got really fed up with the pity party that I was throwing for myself all the time and victimizing myself all the time. I got so tired of telling myself what a screw up I was and being so cruel to myself, that I was tired of it. And really, I just wanted to feel good. I just wanted to feel good. And I started with like 2 minutes at a time. I wanted to feel good because I was in so much anxiety and so much, just really low self-worth at that time. My thoughts were really, really beating me up. And if you don't own your thoughts, like, your thoughts will own you. If you don't think your thoughts will think you. And they were thinking me right down into, like, I should just work at the gas station because I'm never going to amount to anything in my life. And this is my lot in life. And it felt so terrible to me all the time that I just got fed up with it. And that was my breaking point. Like, would I let anybody else say the things to me that I was saying to myself? Would I still be friends with that kind of a person that was like, wow, too bad you're a big loser? I wouldn't. And so I had to just draw the line and say, do you know what? I've hit my bottom, not my financial bottom necessarily, but my mental bottom. This is my mental bottom. And I'm going to build up from here. There's no place except up to go from here. And one of the things that really helped me with that was a quote from Albert Einstein. And he said, the most important decision you can make is whether you live in a hostile universe or a friendly one. And I realized that I had, for the last several years of building my company, decided that the business world was hostile, and that the universe was hostile to my needs and to my desires, instead of being friendly to my needs and to my desires. And when I shifted that, really, Aggie, it really was just, I just want to feel better. I don't want to feel like I'm choking on anxiety all the time. Can I just feel calm for just a couple minutes at a time? And then that's when I really think God and my angels were like, and now she's ready. Because you can't get those really powerful decisions, those powerful uplifting decisions. Those can't come in, and that instruction can't come in until your mind is quiet. And my mind was filled with so much chatter and so much garbage that inspiration couldn't get in. There wasn't room for it. So I had to do my part. And my part was to quiet my thoughts. My part was to be compassionate with myself, because I didn't set out this company to ruin anybody. Certainly not my family. I set out to build this company to be a blessing to myself, to my family, to the world. Like, all of my intentions came from a really pure place. And I did the best that I could with the knowledge and the skill level that I had, and from where my mindset was. I really did. And when I finally just accepted that and just let the what so of the situation be the what so of the situation, they'd be like, all right, what can we build from here? That's when life started getting really, really fun. That's when your higher self can speak to you. My vocabulary is God, Heavenly Father. Maybe yours is higher power or intelligence, whatever your language is. We're talking about the same kind of energy. And I had to do my part. Like, we limit that really higher power and that higher level of ourselves when we keep telling ourselves we can't do it, when we keep telling ourselves this is too big or nothing's going to change. We really limit power in our life. And I was tired of limiting that power and tired of beating myself up all the time.
Thank you. That's wonderful. And I liked you described that situation like you hit your mental rock bottom. And the reason why I wanted to go and discuss this a little bit more in detail, and that's why I asked you, was because of something else you said earlier, that you hadn't realized that your inner reality was wrong, and that's why the company was not working. It was not your lack of effort. You were grinding more. And I think this is common, unfortunately, but it is common with people to think that they need to run faster, so they increase the speed on the treadmill, but they're still on the treadmill, whereas the realization that everything, our reality, our life, is a mirror of what's going on inside. That's one of the biggest realizations. And I mean, it's one thing to understanding it intellectually, because you can, but and another to actually experience that, which is I don't know how the conversation went to a very different direction, but I like it.
But you know what, you're absolutely right, Aggie, because intellectually, I'm not telling anybody something that they don't already know. Like intellectually, we're like, yeah, I got it. Yeah, I got it. But when does life change? And that was what was so frustrating to me, was that I had the book knowledge, and it was like, yeah, I know my reality mirrors my thoughts. I know I need to clean off my face and not try to clean off the mirror. I know, but when does everything change? And it was when, like, I had to very consciously go in there and be like, all right, which thought is serving me? Which thought makes me feel really constricted, which one makes me feel less than, and which one makes me feel expansive, and then which one am I going to follow? Like, it really was, I mean, this is personal development mastery podcast that we're talking about here. It has to go beyond the book learning. It has to go beyond, yeah, I know, into, all right, but am I applying, and can I really like distill this down into its very, very basic, most simple parts, like almost insultingly dumb parts, quite honestly. I mean, I think we get so sophisticated and we're like, I know better than this. And it's like, well, yeah, but life hasn't changed yet. So how about we get silly and we get a little bit dumb for a minute and be like, really being aware of your thoughts without judging them anymore. And then asking, do I want the physical counterpart of this thought, or do I not? If I want it, then let's keep thinking that thought and get really emotional about that thought. And if not, then it's my job to shift the thought and to distract myself if necessary. Like, I had to pull it right into like my very own situation. Like, I didn't just make the decision that everything always works out for me, and then just be like, and then suddenly the daisies grew. And then suddenly it was springtime and I never had a problem. Like, yeah, I went from bankruptcy to almost $250,000 in 2 years. And then in 6 months, then over the span of 2 years, we made multiple millions. But I had to go through every moment of those 6 months to get there. It wasn't just like suddenly I made a decision. I had to follow that decision. And I had to look at, all right, how is everything always working out for me right now in this disaster, this seeming disaster that I've created? How is everything always working out for me? Oh, guess what? My husband loves me still. I know marriages that have fallen apart over bankruptcies before. Mine didn't. My children still love me. Like, there were some bills that we could pay. This is really beautiful. We had a congregation that was very loving, and we were able to, I mean, we had such a hard time even buying food at that point. Like, that was a really humbling and almost humiliating place to be, because I've always been so self-sufficient, and I don't share this very often, but it feels like somebody needs to hear this. Like, we were able to go to a food pantry and get wonderful, healthy food that our family hadn't eaten in a really, really long time. And it was humbling, but more than anything, it was like, this is working out for us. Look at this. We have a fridge full of food that we haven't had in months and months and months. And this is such a blessing. We have fresh fruit. We haven't bought fresh fruit in so long. And what other ways is life working out for me? Oh, do you know what? I love water. I can get a clean glass of water anytime I want. There's so many people in the world who can't. That's working out for me. Like, I got really silly. In fact, I would sit at my desk and I'm like, okay, I'm on a cushioned chair that has not collapsed from underneath me. That's working out for me. We have a great internet connection going on right now, Aggie. That's working out for me. Like, I literally would tell myself, and after just a couple of minutes, I would start to feel settled. And then I would start to like look around. Like, we've got beautiful blue. I have a beautiful blue office, and it's very, very soothing to me. The paint is blue on my walls, and we had that paint custom made, which is actually not expensive at all. And I'm like, I love this color. That's working out for me. Like, I got so silly. Other people would think it was completely unsophisticated, and it probably was, but I didn't care. I just wanted to feel better. And I needed to raise my vibration, and I needed to make more powerful decisions. And like, that's what it boils down to. And until I quieted my mind and then started looking around at things that supported where I wanted to go, nothing could change. I would just keep going down, and can I speak into another point for just a second?
Absolutely.
The whole, like, here's my rock bottom. Before I decided it was my mental rock bottom, there were so many times in my finances where I was like, this is rock bottom. It will never get worse than this. But I hadn't changed my thoughts. And so we kept finding a new bottom. Like bottom had a basement and bottom had a basement. And then I was like, oh, it's not that my physical circumstances, this is our rock bottom, because there's a lot of things outside of my control. I have enormous influence over my circumstances, but I don't have 100% control over my outer circumstances. But I do have 100% control over my inner thoughts. So that's where I made that distinction. Like, all right, the physical circumstances might continue to go down, and they did for a little while. But my mental rock bottom was like right there. Like it could still, like that was absolutely my rock bottom. I was no more going to tell myself that I'm the world's biggest loser. Like that was done. That was off the table. My value was no longer going to be questioned. My self-worth wasn't on the table any longer. And then when I started building myself from there, then circumstances could change. And I think this is where we get it all backwards.
I want to take a short break from this episode and quickly let you know about something I'm really excited about. For me, having a podcast made a tremendous difference in my life's journey, and I know the kind of impact it can have on one's personal development. And that is why I'm so passionate about helping coaches who are ready to amplify their message and reach a global audience by creating, launching, and growing a top quality podcast, even if they aren't tech savvy and are limited on time. Maybe you have thought about having your own podcast, but you don't want to go through the time-consuming learning process of how to create, launch it, how to record, edit, host, and so on. If you said yes, I have a solution for you, something that takes away all the complexity and allows you only to concentrate on creating quality content. Go to my website, 𝘁repetidas.com, to find out more and to get your free copy of my guide about creating and launching your podcast. Alright, let's jump back to the episode. I liked very much the practical way you described how to move your attention, to move your thoughts from when you understand that they are not serving you. And actually, since we started talking about decisions, I will carry on with that. And you mentioned earlier a quote by Einstein, and I have one as well from Napoleon Hill from Think and Grow Rich. And he said that people who are successful, there's people who succeed, reach decisions promptly and change them, if at all, very slowly. Whereas people who fail reach decisions, if at all, very slowly and change them frequently and quickly.
Yes.
And I think in this phrase, it really encompasses many of the elements of, why it's important to take decisions and why it's important to stick with your decisions as well. So let's talk about this, Allyson, and why do people struggle with decisions? Why it is so difficult for some people not to take decisions?
Because of what they have made decision mean if they choose wrong. Mm-hmm. People are really afraid to fail. And so if I make the wrong decision and then it leads to heartache or it leads to failure, what does that mean about me? And I have worked with hundreds of women, thousands of women throughout my years of being in business. And at the end of the day, they always come down to the same thing. It means I'm not enough. And it means I'll be all alone and nobody will love me. And if that's what you've given failure to mean, you're not enough and you're going to die alone, then it's no wonder why people have such a hard time making decisions and why they're so afraid of failure. That's why the most important decisions you'll make is not to do something, but it's decisions about something. So if you decide that everything's always working out for you, you decide that you do matter, and you decide that you won't be left alone. It allows you to then take those risks. Highly successful people don't make the right decisions. They make the decisions right. And they also trust that as they go along that path of that decision, that they're not going to get too far down the wrong path without having some signs that they're on the wrong path. Like you gotta have trust. You gotta have trust not only that the right people and the right connections, the right opportunities will come to you as you've made this decision and you're committing to the decision, but also if it really isn't in your best interest, you're going to feel unsettled. Something's going to feel off. Like you're not going to get 5 years down the road of a wrong decision without having really clear signs that you're not on the right road for you. And then you can easily course correct. If you're 2 or 3 months down the road of a wrong decision, it's really, really easy to course correct. And when we've decided that failure is nothing more than gaps that I didn't notice and gaps that need to be closed, failure doesn't have anything to do with your worth as an individual. It doesn't have anything to do with your level of intelligence. It doesn't have anything to do with what you're creating in the future. It's just there were gaps. There were gaps I didn't know that there were there. And wow, okay, cool. Let's close these gaps now and let's give it another go now that we've seen these gaps and closed them, and let's see what happens from there. And that's why it's really easy for highly successful people to make decisions that are really quick and to not waver for them, because they make the decision right, because they trust their intuition and they trust that they have the skill set at least to get started. And I think this is where so many people go off the rails, because they want to have the complete skill set that's required to build their empire. And nobody has that when you first get started. Nobody has the skill set when you're going to the next level. I don't care how successful you are in business. You don't have the skill set yet to get to the next level. Otherwise, you'd already be there. But when you trust that from right here, I can get started on my next level, I can. And I'm going to get the skills and the people and the support as I go.
With the decision, you talked about trusting, about that intuitive feeling that comes many times when we are about to make a decision, that kind of leads us to knowing that this is the right decision. But what you were saying, that people are hesitant to make a decision because what happens if they fail and they have attached failure to their self-worth. I think that is something that is very important. It happens, I think it's quite common. I don't know if you notice it often. I think I do. I think it's quite common. And my question to that would be, how can you detach from that, though? Is it, not seeing failure as learning rather than something that hurts your self-worth, or you said that I'm not enough, I'm not going to be loved, all these things. So how do you break from this chain of emotional response to failure, in quotes?
That's such a beautiful question, because I was like the queen of being afraid to fail. So just so you know, I've been on both sides of this equation. So I can speak from personal experience. Yeah. It really is just making that conscious decision that people will say failure is nothing more than feedback. And that's true as well, but that didn't resonate with me so much, as just failure just shows you where the gaps are. You don't know where the gaps are until you go through it. And so I knew that I would have wisdom from experience after having gone through whatever it is that didn't work. And I just became obsessed with finding the gaps and closing the gaps. Like, I decided it didn't mean anything about me. It just meant that my skills needed to be honed more. And I got really, really excited about building up those skills, honing those skills, building up those muscles. And it's just that reminder at first, like, no, this doesn't have anything to do about you and your worth. So stop making it about you and your worth, because it has nothing to do with that. You know, if you think about riding a bike, do we decide that we're not worth it because we fall off the bike 14 times before we learn how to ride it? No, we don't have our balance yet. We gotta get that muscle memory. We got to build those synapses in our brain. We got to make those neural connections. And that's what you're doing. Oh, look, I'm laying down a new neural pathway in my brain. Holy cow, this is really exciting. And I didn't see that one coming, and I didn't see that one coming, but I did now. Okay. So I know you'll never be at square one. Like, if you go through something and it doesn't work, people are like, well, now I'm back to the beginning. No, you're not. because now you have knowledge born of experience, which is more than knowledge, it's wisdom. It's wisdom born of experience. And so you can know which mistakes not to make. You can know, go in this direction rather than that direction for next time. And all it does is bless you. So I think another decision that I made is only good can come of this. Everything always works out for me. I decided that, and I've decided that no matter what happens, if I'm faced with a business challenge, a personal challenge, a relationship challenge, a health challenge, whatever it is, only good can come of it. So if I'm going to take a risk in business, only good can come of it. And most of the time we'll take those risks because we think the risk is going to get us someplace else, right? But most people are super risk averse because they don't believe it's actually going to work. And so then we just stay in our little box, but we just have to decide, like, this is in my heart for a reason, whatever it is. And you can tie this to anything, whether it's a weight goal or a fitness goal that you have, or a relationship goal, or increasing the bottom line in your bank account or in your business. It works in every area of your life. And that's what's so beautiful about personal development and about this mindset work that we do, is it affects every area of our life in such beautiful ways. But if you'll decide across the board that everything's always working out for you and only good can come of this, then it allows you, that's what helps you with the trust. Like, Aki, when I first started after like the whole fall apart, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust myself to make decisions. I didn't trust myself to make investments. I'd made some really poor investments for my business. But you know who I did trust? I did trust people who had been in my shoes and gotten through it. I did trust my higher power. And I trusted that if I would keep my mind calm long enough to receive that direction, I'll take that direction. I'll take that inspired instruction and I'll move forward and I'll see what happens. Because here's one thing. Yeah, we made an awful lot of money in a short amount of time, but there was a lot of discomfort that happened with that. You know, God just wasn't like, go take out a loan. That wasn't possible. We were in a bankruptcy. People don't give you money. They don't give you credit when you're in a bankruptcy. But God was like, you need to skill up in your sales. You need your confidence back in being able to sell for your company. And that was scary to me. I call it butt clenching. You like those, when you get that instruction, you're like, oh my goodness, that feels exciting, but also very scary. That's inspired. Go for it. Go for it. And then as I trusted more that God would bring the people to me that were going to help me to get to where I wanted to go instead of hurt me along the way, those people started showing up until I started trusting more in myself and in my intuition, and let it be an experiment. I had taken myself really, really seriously. I'd taken my business really, really seriously. And I was like, I don't know. Let's see how close we get to this outrageous goal. I don't know. I've never done it before. Let's see, let's experiment instead of this. Like, I was playing sudden death. I was playing a sudden death match with my company all the time. If this strategy doesn't work, we'll be destroyed. Like, I was using super dramatic language like that, but it's just like, let's just experiment and see. I don't know. All I know is we're going to be okay at the end of it. It's all right. Let's try it. And that will help ease you into it as well. It'll help ease some of that anxiety and that uncertainty, because that's what's triggering the amygdala in our brain. And the amygdala is that like lizard part of our brain that makes you stop because it doesn't like uncertainty and it doesn't like risk. So it like floods you with anxiety and like, oh no, don't go through this because you might get hurt or get killed through it. But you're not going to get hurt or killed through a weight loss plan or through, let's try this new business investment. Like, you're not. It feels psychologically like you will, but you really won't. You know, we want our amygdala flooding us with fear when we're peering over a bridge and wondering, shall I step off this bridge? We want that flooding us with fear, but not when we're looking for something that's going to lend to our growth and our expansion. And the amygdala will do that all the time. It doesn't like uncertainty and it doesn't like risk. And so when we realize, oh, this is just me feeling uncertain, but I can have certainty through this if I decide that everything always works out for me and only good can come of this, then I open myself up to all the things that I want to learn, all the miracles that God has in store for me. And it's so much more fun along the way.
It's a great paradigm, a different paradigm that you are describing, the way of thinking and a way of living your life, and the way you were describing it, I could feel like a lightness, like a playfulness in the way that it's an adventure, it's an experiment. I think you used the word experiment. That and have fun with it. Don't take it too seriously and overcomplicate things, and some lightness. And that's I love how you said it, because I could feel the lightness, and it's completely an approach, I believe, on how you choose to live your life. Will you see things from a light point of view, and or everything would be, the destruction, or that's the end, it's the worst thing ever, or this heaviness. So I think that for me, and I'm just repeating it in my own words, because it's something that I believe it's important for someone to, realize it, that maybe all I need to do is shift my paradigm a little bit and not take myself so seriously, and lighten up a little
Yes.
bit.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we tend to think that it's this massive 180-degree turn we have to make, and it's not. It's a
Mm.
1-degree tweak. It's a millimeter of a tweak. Instead of how could this fall apart? Well, how could this come together? What if this worked out? Like I'm baby stepping you through exactly what I did when I was at my rock bottom to get out of it. Because we think, yeah, I need to have a paradigm shift, but you don't understand. That was another thing that kept me in that hurting place for a very long time, because I would listen to podcasts like yours, and I'd read the personal development books, and I would always be like, yeah, but you don't understand. Here are my circumstances, and my circumstances make me special. And that's why nothing can change, because universal laws, which although I understand are immutable and irreversible, they're not going to work for me because I'm special. And then I was like, oh, hang on. Like, is that actually helping me get to what I want? No, this yeah, but that I'm doing all the time is keeping me firmly stuck in this mud I've created. So let's just shift a tiny bit. Let's just shift a tiny bit and decide everything's always working out for me. And let's get some evidence that supports my claim right now. Let's get some evidence. We never had our electricity shut off. We were always able to pay our electric bill. We were always able to pay our mortgage. So we were never in any danger of our home being taken from us. Now, I know some people have lost homes and lost everything in bankruptcies, but guess what? You had family, you had friends that took you in, that loved you. You were able to, sleep on their sofa for a little while. Like, you were never alone in that. And even when you felt alone, you weren't alone. Like, there are people that are strategically and angelically placed to bring you comfort, to bring you joy, to bring you hope, to bring you food, to bring you shelter, to bring those things, to bring your dreams to pass. But you got to get in agreement with that. You got to get in agreement with God and with your dreams. It's called alignment. And it is just a tiny little tweak. It's a tiny little tweak. We don't need to make it more violent or more complicated than it is, because it really, really isn't.
Allyson, based on the conversation we've had so far today, if you were to give to the listeners something actionable, one actionable item, something that she can implement tomorrow morning or later on today, what would you say?
I really would say that regardless of where you're at right now, maybe life is going really, really well for you right now. We're here to expand and we're here to grow. So how can it enhance you? Like, how can your life be enhanced? As well as the people that really feel like they're at their rock bottom, how is everything always working out for you? If you're at your rock bottom, start looking in your exact situation where you're at right now. I'm in a temperature controlled room right now. It's snowing outside and I'm not in it. That's working for me right now. If everything is already going your way, start doing that anyway, because do you know what it will do? It will increase your gratitude. And gratitude is one of the most powerful tools of creation we have at our fingertips, because gratitude tells God and tells the universe and tells your subconscious that you already have enough. And what you already have enough of, you can easily get more of because you're not coming from a place of lack or scarcity with it. So when you already have plenty and you say, oh, look at all of this that's working out for me. How could it possibly get better than this? Oh, you just wait. That's them's playing words right there with God. And that he's going to push up his sleeves and he's going to show you just how good life can get and how much better it can get. But that would be the one thing that I would tell people, especially after these last couple of years we've had that have been rocky for absolutely everybody. Just applying this, just with some fun, make it a little bit of a game, that will literally change everything for you.
I will second that. It's a very powerful exercise, 100%. Allyson, where will you direct the listener who has really enjoyed this conversation today and wants to find out more about you and what you do?
You can also listen to my podcast. It's called The Prosperity Approach. I also have a best-selling book by the same title. And I would love to gift your audience with the Prosperity Guide. And so these are 52 different exercises that I did to help me let go of lack and scarcity and those doubts and all of that and get me into ease and flow and all of that. And they're fun little games, much like we've discussed today, that, like I said, I've tried them, I've tested them myself, and they were enormously helpful for me. And you can grab that at prosperityapproach.com/52 ways. And, come see what we're up to in my website, AllysonChavez.com. We've got free meditations and resources that are all about getting you out of that hustle, out of that grind, and into ease and flow and higher levels of success without struggle. So anything that contribute that way, I'm all about it.
Awesome. I will put all the links in the show notes. Allyson, I would like to ask you some quick fire questions to wrap this conversation up. And the first one I always ask is, what does personal development mean to you?
Personal development means to me is tapping into my enormous, unfathomable potential in very simple, grounded, practical ways. That's what personal development is to me. It's my link to my dreams.
And also a hypothetical question. If you could go back in time and meet your 18-year-old self, what's one piece of advice you would give her?
Invest in Apple. Quickly followed by, really, everything always works out for you and you are going to love your life. So just have fun. Let it be an experiment. Don't take yourself too seriously. That's really what I would have told her.
Allyson, I want to thank you very much for such a delightful and inspiring conversation I had with you today. I really enjoyed it very much. I want to wish you all the very best with your mission of empowering and helping women get over the struggle and find success, fulfillment, all these wonderful things that you do. So all the very best with that. Last parting words from you?
Well, again, I just want to say thank you so much for your mission. This is one of my most favorite conversations to have. So you have blessed my life immensely today. So thank you so much for that, for the way that you are contributing. And hopefully I was able to contribute just a little bit today. And I would just say prosperity becomes you. So just decide prosperity becomes you, and it will. It will.
Thank you for listening, and I hope you got great value from today's episode. And if you'd be so kind, please take a moment to leave me an Apple Podcasts review, sharing how personal development mastery has made a difference to you today. And I will read the review in the podcast. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in,